Canning chicken and other meats can save you time down the road. I chose to can chicken so that I would have it for making chicken pot pies. Choose freshly killed and dressed healthy animals. Large chickens are more flavorful than fryers. Dressed chicken should be chilled for 6 to 12 hours before canning. Remove excess fat and cut the chicken into its suitable size parts for fitting into your jars, leaving required headspace. Can with or without bones. You will need to heat your jars up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit for hot packed foods. For raw packed foods, it would be 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Put the rack in hot water into the canner. If the amount of water is not specified for a given food, use enough water so it is 2 to 3 inches high in the canner. Longer processes may require more water. For hot packed foods, you can bring the water to 180 degrees Fahrenheit ahead of time, but be careful not to boil the water or heat it long enough for the depth to decrease. The hot pack method is preferred for best liquid cover and quality during storage. I chose to add broth to my chicken, then boil the meat. You can boil, steam, or bake meat until about 2/3 done. Fill jars with chicken and hot broth, leaving 1 1/4 inch headspace. Try to remove any air bubbles. Wipe the top of the jars clean with a warm, damp cloth. Adjust lids and process following the recommendations according to the canning method used and your altitude. Place filled jars fitted with lids and ring bands on the jar rack in the canner using a jar lifter, being careful not to tilt the jars. Fasten the canner lid securely, leaving the weight off the vent pipe, or open the petcock. Turn the heat setting to its highest position. Heat until the water boils and steam flows freely in a funnel shape from the open vent pipe or petcock. While maintaining the high heat setting, let the steam flow or exhaust continuously for 10 minutes. After this venting or exhausting of the canner, place the counterweight or weighted gauge on the vent pipe or close the petcock. The canner will pressurize during the next 3 to 10 minutes. Start timing the process when the pressure reading on the dial gauge indicates that the recommended pressure has been reached, or for canners without dial gauges, when the weighted gauge begins to jiggle or rock as the manufacturer describes. Regulate the heat under the canner to maintain a steady pressure at or slightly above the correct gauge pressure. One type of weighted gauge should jiggle a certain number of times per minute, while another type should rock slowly throughout the process. Check the manufacturer's directions. When the time processed is completed, turn off the heat and let the canner cool down naturally. While the canner is cooling, it is also depressurizing. Do not force cool the canner. Forced cooling may result in spoilage. When the dial gauge reads 0, you may remove the weight from the vent pipe. Tilt the weight slightly to make sure no steam escapes before pulling it all the way off. After you remove the weight, wait 10 minutes, then unfasten the lid and remove it carefully. Lift the lid with the underside away from you so that the steam coming out of the canter does not burn your face. Using a jar lifter, remove the jars one at a time, being careful not to tilt the jars. Carefully place them directly onto a towel or cake cooling rack, leaving at least 1 inch of space between the jars during cooling. Avoid placing the jars on a cold surface or in a cold draft. Let the jars sit undisturbed while they cool from 12 to 24 hours. Do not tighten ring bands on the lids or push down on the center flat metal lid until the jar is completely cooled. Thank you for watching, and for more information, contact your county extension agent.